Hey everyone, thanks again for checking in. Welcome back to another episode of Guitar Talk with Todd here at Todd Beebe Music. As always, please subscribe, like, share, comment, the whole thing. Got a lot of great links below. Check those out. We got another lesson today. This is a quick one about the shuffle rhythm. I did another one of these, which I'm going to refer to as part one. I'm going to put the link down below. Make sure you check that out first. This is kind of like part two of that, like a blues rhythm type of a thing. The first one we did in open position down here in A, like that type of a... Okay, so we're going to do the exact same thing, but we're going to move it into what I call closed position today. Great thing about closed position is you can move it around. So first, let's kind of talk about what we're doing there. If we look at the one we did in the other video that was in A, okay, remember everything except the third and second string on the guitar is 5 frets off. So what I mean is, like, if I play an E here on the second fret of the fourth string, and then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and go up a string, that's also an E. Okay, so right there, that note comes up to here, and then my open fifth string that we also had down here comes up here to the 5th fret on the top. So now instead of here, I have these two, the top two strings, but it's the same notes, in this case an A and an E, which would be the root and the 5th, and the same thing here. Okay, and again, I'm getting that root and 5th off the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my 5th, and there's my root. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Root 5th. So the root and the 5th. That's also why that's referred to as a power chord or a 5th. So that's the exact shape that you're doing there is a power chord shape. But that's the same thing we had down here. Now, when we did that shuffle rhythm down here, we added what would be referred to as the 6th here by going... Okay, so just think now we're going 2 frets higher than we are with this note. So we're moving this note up 2 frets higher, in this case from E to F sharp. So let's just come up here. There's our E. We're going to reach up to the F sharp here now. So this is kind of a reach, especially at first, because you've got a space between each finger here for the root and the 5th. And then you want to kind of keep that on and reach up here with your pinky, which is going to be 2 frets higher than the 3rd. So ideally you want to play this way, the same 8th note kind of a feel, twice without the pinky, twice with, twice without, twice with, twice without. Same rhythm we had down here in open position. Okay, that is kind of a stretch at first, so if you have to go like this, and take your 3rd finger off to get that reach, that's fine at first. I kind of encourage all of my students to try to get used to not lifting it up though, but again, at first, if you have to, that's fine, but definitely work on that where you try to keep that down and don't lift up the 3rd finger. The big trick for that is your thumb. Thumb is a key to so many things on guitar. I know a lot of people think it's just back here, it doesn't do anything, but it so changes the angle of your fingers. So even with basic chords, if you're ever really just thinking, man, I can't get this, try moving that thumb, because it just completely changes the angle of your fingers and how they strike the strings. So in this case, you want your thumb super low and your hands kind of coming out like a big claw around the front. If you keep that thumb up high, it's almost like impossible to do this. So you definitely want it low on the back of the neck. Okay, so we're going to count it the same way we did the shuffle down here. I'm going to put the chart up again like I did for the first part. So we're basically counting every time that third finger comes down here. That's what we did as one time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we're going to do the same thing up here, but it's just going to be our pinky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so 8 times, just like we did down here. Now, if you remember in the first part, or like I said, go back and watch the video for the first part 1 of the shuffle rhythm that we're talking about, you're basically just going to drop everything down into what would be the top part of a D chord. But the pattern is like the same. So it's the same thing here. Just drop these 2 fingers down a string, and now we've gone from an A5 power chord shape to a D5 power chord shape, and we're going to do the exact same thing here 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to go back to part 1 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now here's where it gets a little bit different. Down here, we went up to the top 2 strings, which is like the top part of an E chord. And we had the... Okay, here, what we're going to do is go 2 frets higher than what we did for the second part. And that's kind of important to remember, because that's how we can move this pattern around. Okay, so in other words, part 1 was this, and we did that 8 times. Part 2, as we're going to call it, or what would be the 4 chord, in this case D, is right here underneath it. And then we're going to go back to part 1 4 times. And then what we're calling part 3, or what would be the 5 chord, would be always 2 frets higher than what the 4 chord would be. So if that's what we did for the 4 chord, just move that 2 frets higher. This is now an E chord. We have an E and a B, just like we did down here, just an octave down. What we're going to do here, we're going to change it around a little bit. We're going to do part 3, the 5 chord, 2 times. The 4 chord, or part 2, 2 times, and then part 4 on the first part, the 1 chord. Okay, so let me play the whole thing for you as a 12-bar blues. So we have part 1 8 times, part 2 4 times, 2. Again, you're looking at that pinky. Part 1 4 times, 3, 4, part 3 2 times, part 2 2 times, part 1 4 times. And then it just starts over. And again, we're calling this part 1, part 2, part 3. The proper names of those, this would be the 1 chord, this would be the 4 chord, and this would be the 5 chord. And again, that comes off the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 1, the root note of A. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's our root note of D. And then 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's our root note of the 5 chord. So it's always like this little box pattern, 1, 4, and 5. Now this is movable. That's what's great about this closed position. So we could come up here to the 7th fret and do blues in B, exact same pattern we just did. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, drop down, 2, 3, 4, back to part 1, 2, 3, the 5 chord, the 4 chord, the 1 chord. So you can move that anywhere once you get that little pattern down that we just did. Again, that goes back to your root notes too on the top string. Once you know the names of those notes on the top, that tells you what you're playing. So if you want to do blues in G, Start down here at the third, do the exact same pattern we just did. And, you know, wherever you want to move it to. Obviously, the way the guitar is, the farther down here, it gets a little bit crazy. F being probably the hardest one, because you got to stretch the first, the third, and the fifth. That's a pretty good workout, especially when you're new to this. So the higher you go, like say you did blues in D at the 10th, that one's real nice because all the frets are closer together. Okay, but that's what's great about that closed position pattern. You can kind of move it. So I hope that helps you guys, and you enjoyed this lesson today on Guitar Talk with Todd. Once again, comment below if you have any questions. Let me know. I'll get back to you. Thanks for checking in. Check out all my other episodes, and I'll have some future ones coming up. We got more lessons, more guitar reviews. Find me on Facebook at Todd Beebe Music. Thanks so much for your support and for checking in, you guys. Stay safe and love your dogs. And we'll see you again. Take care.